Take me on a spree, I wanna get to know me, every little inch of me. Gentle while you stroke, when you picture me, every number count, love tokens.
Hi, I'm Alexandra, and I'm a New England-based landscape artist. Today, I'm going to take you along on an artist weekend getaway to Mid-Coast, Maine, and share my thoughts on how to make the most art-wise out of a little local trip. We'll explore the idea of 4 types of seeing: seeing with our eyes, seeing with our hands, seeing through a camera, and seeing for social media. Each of these has value for an artist, but we can really only do one at once, and each has a unique purpose. So let's set off! On our first day, we really settled into our living space on the Damariscotta River. I drew my cousin's living room, and I was so inspired by all the art that she had around her home. I was especially inspired by these spectacular line and wash botanicals by my distant Aunt Jean. Seeing them here reminded me how influential she was in shaping my idea of beautiful art. I can see her influence in my line work even years after she's gone. On this day, I really leaned into cultivating my artist's eye. By that, I mean that I sketched, observed, felt, rested, and nourished my heart through time with friends. We kept our meals intimate and real, and loved cooking and talking together. I felt into the spindly branches I drew on these trees, straining year after year towards the sun. Once I felt rested and inspired, we set out to hike and take reference photos for landscape. Our home base was near Damariscotta, but we ran some errands in Booth Bay and visited the sea at Ocean Point and Pemaquid Point for photos. As I've been doing lots of landscape art lately, I've been craving a bank of awesome low-key photo references from which to sketch and paint. Stock photography just wasn't cutting it. Then I realized that I've been cultivating my own photo library for years, and if I structured it intentionally and kept adding to it, I'd have exactly the resource I wanted. Since this seems like something other people would want too, I've made a Patreon where you can join to access landscape reference photos and get regular guided practice with me. The link is in the description. On day 2, we were full of good nature and cozy cabin time, so we set out to Damariscotta Village. The cloudy April weather wasn't ideal for capturing value differences for art reference photography, but it was such a delight to enjoy the year-round shops without the crowds. While I filmed more in the village, I was reminded that it's not really possible to be mindful, present, or observant while cultivating content for social media. I saw things through the camera, but I didn't really see them with my eyes or store them in my memory to add to my inspiration pool. As my high school art teacher once told me, you'll never forget a view you've drawn or painted. You feel it in your muscles. That's why I think it's important to draw first, photograph for the studio second, and only nab something for social media last, for the sake of our artistic spirit. Later that day, we set out to Pemaquid Point to get some time directly on the ocean. We had to stop by a lighthouse while we were here. The wind was up at the point, and typical of Maine in April, it was a cold, wet wind. I decided to focus on photos rather than fuss with my art supplies in the inclement weather. Once I got my photos, I just let myself be in the moment, internalizing how the view felt so I could later capture that in the studio from my references. Then it was time to warm up by the fire. On Monday, it was time to head home. The rain was bitter that day, and although we considered stopping at an art museum in Portland on our way back to Connecticut, we got some delicious warm food at the Honey Paw instead and just made our way home. Thanks for coming along for the ride. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to like and subscribe. See you next time!